Welcome, Viking fans, to a special live edition of Bite Size Vikes. I'm your host, John Boyd. We've got Josh Limisand, and we're going to get to all the ins and outs of a massive Vikings win over maybe the best team in the league. Let's get into it. Well. Should we tank? Should we trade Daniil Hunter? Will Kirk waive his no-trade clause, you think? Vikings win. Vikings back. The Vikings can hang with anybody. Josh, how are you feeling on Victory Tuesday?
Victory Tuesday feels great. I was just telling you pre-show, I was riding such a high today. I was like, anytime some stupid little thing happened, I was like, I don't care. The Vikings handled the 49ers yesterday.
So it's all good.
Yeah, they led the entire game, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, unless I slipped up on looking at my stats. We scored a touchdown in the first quarter for the first time all season. It was first time against the Niners.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I'm just all positivity. I
think both of us will just have like a smattering of little anecdotal
yes
stuff that we love about this game.
Exactly. Yeah, we were talking the last time. I think we recorded something. We were talking about how I was telling no one's allowed to panic if we beat the Bears, lose to San Francisco. We were playing out the worst case scenario, but
yep.
But I think I was telling everybody I felt good going into yesterday's game. But when I say that, I don't think it carries any weight anymore because the people that know me well know that I'm going to say that about every Vikings game. So it doesn't really carry a lot of weight. But I still took a victory lap today. I said no one else believed in them except us.
Yes,
and we did it.
And we did it, man. And it was, yeah, they had no Trent Williams.
Right.
Yeah, they had no Deebo Samuel. The Vikings had no Justin Jefferson.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That playing field's even to me.
Right, for sure.
They also had no Ezra Cleveland.
Yep.
Who's one of the – he's a very average NFL starting guard,
right.
Which you can't have a drop-off there. But I think we found one of the better just swing linemen in the league. Reisner, who's obviously played, of course, has played tackle in college. He's even taken some snaps at center in college.
Mm-hmm.
He's played both right and left guard at the NFL level. And I feel really comfortable with either of those guards going down and having to go to Dalton Reisner. I thought he looked great. The offensive line as a whole allowed 0 sacks. Yep. My first very anecdotal stat is the 49ers had a 15.6% pass rush win rate last night against the Vikings offensive line. That's the worst mark they've had since 2017.
Oh, love that.
So, as much as the average bystander or onlooker might think that this, it was just the Brock Purdy picks. That's what gave the Vikings this game. Like the Niners beat themselves, yada yada. Anyone thinking that hasn't really looked too deeply yet because the fact is the Vikings kind of kicked their ass up and down the field.
Yep.
For the most part, on both sides of the ball, and particularly in the trenches with that offensive line. Darisaw had some hilarious reps against Nick Bosa, where he's just in an absolute jail cell.
Yep.
They did a really good job against Bosa, chipping him with Hawkinson constantly. It was just, we said pre-show, this might have been like one of O'Connell's best games as a Viking. It was one of Kirk Cousins' best games as a Viking. As much as I loved that Panthers game, this might have been Brian Flores' best game as a Viking. And that's a fine segue for either. But let's start with Kirk quick.
Mhm.
Uh, outside of the interception, we'll say it evens out to one interceptable ball that he threw. I think the
Right.
first one wasn't his fault. The
Right.
second one to Addison should have been a pick.
Correct.
So
Correct.
we'll say those cancel out. But I think this was one of his best games from like a feel standpoint. Like his pocket awareness and maneuvering was great. Um, he was he was just kind of just hooping
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the times. Like, yeah, he was playing within structure, but he was doing these little like touch throws and like kind of off his back foot throws. He was really creative. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
he was throwing off his back foot. There was a like a deep curl he ripped to KJ, that diving KJ catch,
Yep.
um, where Bosa was like right at his waist, and he
Yep.
all he could do to torque it was just like hips and shoulders. He couldn't even get his feet planted.
Yeah.
And he got it there. Like,
It's
go ahead. But
yeah, I was gonna say quick. I'm gonna get back to the Kirk thing, but quick sidebar on KJ Osborne. He has the devastating penalty that negates the beautiful trick play,
that was right after that.
the pass, and then he comes back and has that diving catch. And it's another thing we've been talking about over the course of these few weeks, like these self-imposed errors and mistakes.
Yeah.
The team looked soft at times, and we wanted to know how they were going to respond. Well, they took down a divisional opponent on the road in Chicago. Yeah, Chicago was bad, but we still did it. And then they come back this week, and that play to Ty Chandler was so demoralizing when it got help called back. But then KJ comes back, he makes a really impressive diving catch to keep the drive going. Like what a great response. But yeah, anyway, back to Kirk, like. The only negatives on him tonight are from last night are pretty nitpicky. Like obviously the throws, but sometimes you just put the ball like that pass on the touchdown to Addison. Like that's exactly what you want him to do. He saw that we had man coverage over the top. For some reason, the Niners gave us that that look at that time of the game. Like you want him to take that shot. I think Addison surprised him with how fast he got to that spot. And I bet Kirk was kicking himself for throwing it behind him. And then, but Addison made a play. We have playmaking receivers. That's what they do. And you could nitpick a couple times. Like the offensive line played so well. The only time it felt like there was pressure was when Kirk held the ball a little bit too long. But even like some people were calling out. I was reading a thread about people still trying to find things to like knock Kirk on. They were talking about that goal line possession we had where we were inside the 5 and we just couldn't get home. And like he had that overthrow on Jordan Addison, but I think that was more of like, Addison probably should have stopped or should have kept going. He kind of stuttered a little bit. Like these are really nitpicky mistakes.
Addison could have had 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, it really should.
If he had better feel.
Yeah, and so I'm right with you there with Kirk because he moved around the pocket well. There was this one time I was watching it with my neighbors actually, and we saw Kirk get lost behind the lineman. I was like, oh, great. He got sacked. And then all of a sudden he emerges and hits Addison for a 3rd down conversion, which, by the way, that's the biggest stat of the night for Kirk, regardless of yards. His 3rd down passing was unbelievable. And that
was he 10 for 12 on 3rd down for like $182?
Something bonkers like that. And, that could also speak to what you were saying about the O'Connell play calling because, but again, we needed the time to pass. Like the O-line really set that up because some of those developing routes turned into like really high percentage completions. Like they weren't a lot of lucky plays. They were like, he was lights out on 3rd down because that's kept us on the field. I was going to bring up that we only had one drive outside of our game victory formation drive. We only had one drive that was less than 5 plays. And that was the interception drive we were moving down the field. We had 5 drives of 10 plays or more. I've been calling for that all year. We won the time of possession battle. We did everything. We only punted once. We had the missed field goal, which by the way, people are going to say, well, Jake Moody missed another field goal for the Niners, but we missed the field goal and an extra point. So even that is, we matched them in that self-imposed mistake. Like,
yeah, the only difference is we didn't take our kicker in the 3rd round.
That's true. But yeah, it was like I actually hopped in on I hopped on Twitter into a space and I was listening to like a 49ers fan space. Like I was just kind of in the background listening because it was public and there were a bunch of people in there. And then I watched, it reminded me the last time I watched this much ESPN coverage was when the Minneapolis Miracle happened, when I just wanted to watch everything on repeat. And
Yeah,
it was almost hilarious this morning. All of the national pundits like, oh yeah, somehow they lost. Like they're all worried about what happened to the 49ers and they still don't think the Vikings are any good. Like it was like we were lucky, and it was like, no, this team, this is what we're capable of. Like we handled one of the best defenses in the league. This is the first time that they've given up more than 400 total yards of offense. This is only the second time they've given up more than 20 points this year. Like, Purdy had a bad game for sure. And I've never thought
yeah.
he
What's
was.
the excuse for the Niners defense?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
there's
don't
no
know.
Trent, no Debo, but like, what are you going to take away from what the Vikings offense did against a fully healthy 49ers?
Right.
You know,
Right. 100%. I mean, Fred Warner was out for a couple plays, and I think it
Mhm.
was Javon Green or Dre Greenlaw was hobbled at some point, but they both came back. Like it wasn't
Yep.
it wasn't like they were missing, a huge key component of their defense. We found the open spaces because after the first pick, when we got the ball back from the McCaffrey fumble, we were deep in our own territory. Kirk had a really key third down pass completion to Hawkinson. And
That was a sick play design too.
yes, and he somehow was open, and I was like, that it was such a huge play because we just got the momentum back, and I was like, oh my god, now we're gonna punt, and they're gonna get the same field position they had after the interception, and we're gonna get into this little game of like trying to hold on defensively but not being able to do anything offensively, and that really set the tone. We converted that third down, and that turned into an 89-yard touchdown drive, and our first touchdown of the first quarter of the season.
Yeah.
Like it was so awesome.
Yep, that was huge. And then I wanted to close on Brian Flores and the guys. A couple of interesting things about this defense. So they absolutely lived in nickel last night. There were 53 defensive snaps. Cam Bynum, Josh Metellus, and Harrison Smith played all 53. So there were three safeties on the field at all times. Byron Murphy and Caleb Evans also played all 53. Actually, one of them missed a play. But anyway, they lived in nickel. Ivan Pace had just 5 snaps, and it was all Jordan Hicks all the time as the one nominal linebacker.
Yep.
And just the amount of different looks he threw at Purdy and the O-line. There was only 1 sack in this game, but it felt like Purdy was constantly under duress.
Mm-hmm.
And to this point in the season, I said this to you earlier, the Vikings are first in 7-man blitz rate. They're first in 6-man blitz rate. They're first in 5-man blitz rate. And they're also first they actually do this twice as much as the second most team. They're first in drop 8 rate. They've done so 45 times to this point in the season at a 74.1% success rate.
That's awesome.
Which is just a negative EPA essentially.
We're also we're also leading the league in attempted defensive sets with only 8 players on the field. Did you see that?
Yes, that was wild. I've seen 10. I've seen 12. I've never seen 8. That was funny. But it's just great. It's so fun to see. It's so refreshing.
Right. My tagline tonight is Cam Bynum MVP season because I'm going to give him. Technically, I looked at the stat. Harrison Smith got the forced fumble on that McCaffrey fumble, but it's because Cam Bynum's helmet's in there, and it like gets jostled loose off of Cam Bynum's helmet. So, just because of how good his season's been, and he had the 2 picks, I'm just going to go ahead and say he was responsible for all 3 turnovers for the Vikes, and let's get him on the DPOY list or something because he's been killing it this year.
I think he should. I mean, if the season ended today, I think he's a Pro Bowler.
Oh yeah,
for sure. I think it's him and Daniil, and frankly, maybe Jordan Hicks.
Yeah,
like he's been playing out of his mind. Caleb Evans looked really sharp.
Yep,
and really solid. He's great in this. And Brian Flores used to love to play man coverage. Now he's playing zone behind a lot of these blitzes, and it's allowing Caleb Evans and the rest of these guys, Cam Bynum in particular. It's why he's leading the league as far as safeties go in tackles. Um, they're able to sit with eyes to the quarterback, zone eyes, quarterback eyes, and trigger downfield when these short intermediate catches are made.
Right.
And Caleb Evans has been really, really good in that department. When there's a quick slant or a quick little out caught in front of him, it's snuffed out pretty quickly. This team has really been flying to the ball, making tackles, particularly in the secondary.
Yep.
And then, on the defensive line, like Jonathan Bullard playing really well.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's just it's kind of this is the Brian Flores hiring presser fully realized.
Yeah.
This is him. This is him being multiple with his fronts. This is him catering his game plan to who they're playing. Again, Ivan Pace only had 5 snaps today.
Yep.
He decided this week that, well, actually, I think I'm going to have to go to, like a 4-1-6 most of the game, or like or a 5-1-5.
Yeah.
With just Jordan Hicks in there, and then Josh Metellus will be a linebacker, is a box safety, and he's getting the best out of almost every player on this team. I feel like he's putting them in positions to succeed.
Well, and I think that you mentioned it with talking about the secondary and just coming up field to make tackles. I feel like they're always coming up field to make tackles, whereas last year it felt like we were sitting back, cushion, waiting for plays to come to us, so we didn't, like it almost felt ultra conservative at times. Where this time or this season, our guys are flocking to the ball and we're making a lot of plays. And Caleb Evans is a much better tackler than I think he was given credit for coming out of college. And there's sometimes when he looks very undersized for who he's trying to tackle, and he does a really nice job. So he's for sure been playing well.
Yeah, last thing, we've got kind of a creepy look at Harrison Smith here next to the schedule. This is just because I zoomed in. I thought this was funny, though. But anyway, looking at the rest of the schedule, tell me you don't feel like Harrison Smith in this.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think there's a decent chance this team is 9-4 going into the Bengals game.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
definitely
I
possible.
I could see a loss to either the Falcons or the Saints. I'd be shocked if they lost any of those other games, frankly. I think this team still wins 10 games, and I think they're well in position to snatch the division from the Lions in weeks 16 and 18 manually. You know?
Yep, I totally agree. I mean, the Packers and Lambeau are always going to be scary, but they really shouldn't be scary.
They're reeling.
They're reeling. They've dropped 3 straight. We're on the up and up. We just
now I have the opinion or the inclination or the disposition that makes sense instead of this counterintuitive one that I used to have with the Vikings, where now I feel like when it's a young and inexperienced quarterback, I feel better about our chances.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
To fluster them on the defensive side. I feel like we're going to exploit that.
Yeah, for sure.
For the longest time. I mean, longest time from 2020 to 2022. For 3 seasons, it felt like, shitty backup quarterback's playing us.
Yeah.
Here comes a career day for this guy.
Yeah. Well, and Jordan Love's been sailing a lot of passes, and that was kind of Purdy's issue last night. So I'm like, if we're able to get Love in those positions, because he likes to throw it downfield, he doesn't like to do the check down. So I really think we should be getting like another 2 turnovers at least. So as long as we don't shoot ourselves in the foot as well as we did earlier in the season, we should be good.
Yeah, I feel good about it. I'm gonna go Vikes 30-17 in Lambeau. I think it's another comfortable win. I think the offense is rolling. I think the defense causes some turnovers, like you said. And finally, a 2-possession win. What do you think?
Oh, I definitely think it's a 2-possession win. I'll go a little bit weirder. I'll go 28-16. I think for some reason we'll be up 28-9, and I think the Packers. I think Jordan Love will get a deep Christian Watson touchdown. I don't even know if Watson's back from injury fully, because I saw him hobbling off on Sunday as well. So I don't know if he's going to be back, but they'll get one late and it'll make it look a little bit closer. But yeah, I'm going full confidence. Right, we can't have that stupid emotional letdown thing. We have to just.
I think they figured it out. They're done fumbling.
Yep.
They're ready to go. If you haven't already, go watch Kevin O'Connell's post-game locker room speech. It's riveting.
Yeah.
He hands out all the game balls, and you kind of get the feeling that this team's ready to make a push and done disappointing themselves and the rest of us. So thanks for tuning in to this special edition of Bite Size Vikes. We'll have another episode previewing that game at Lambeau to complement those quick little predictions we just gave you. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Skull
Skull to the bowl.
to the ball.